So, this property here with Doug Harris, I'm going to give you the mic and just explain to them what your opportunity is, and then we'll take it from there.
Well, it's a duplex. It needs a lot of work.
Now, be a little peppier than that.
Well, it's a duplex and it needs rehab. 3 bedrooms up, 2 baths, and then it's a weird configuration. There's a 3-bed, 2-bath up. Somebody went in there and started rehabbing it. And then I think the property was empty for a while. The pipes burst, and so there's a lot of damage and a lot of plumbing issues there. I think it'll be about $50,000 to rehab it. So 3 bedrooms upstairs, 2 baths, and downstairs it has 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, and then there's another bath in the basement. Basement is, somebody started rehabbing that. There's an egress window down there and a kitchen hookup, stuff like that, but right now it's zoned as a duplex.
So you're trying to get it to be zoned for a triplex? Is that what this is?
Well, I ran that by the city and they said, well, we don't think that'll happen, but I am attempting that.
Do you know the zoning district that it's in? Is it R1 or R1A or R2 or R2B?
I think it's an R2. You know what, I think it's, yeah, it's an R2B.
So the 108 is what you're asking for?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm assuming you're representing someone, this isn't your property, so you're representing seller?
Yes.
Okay, is it bank-owned or institutional-owned? Privately owned or bank-owned?
Privately.
Phillips has some pretty old decrepit housing. What's the general construction of the house?
1800s foundation or?
Yeah, I think it's right at the turn of the century. I think it's
The
right
wood
around
frame?
1900.
Wood frame, any brick, anything, just wood frame, not
I think
stucco?
it's wood, I believe.
Okay, you believe, so you haven't seen it?
I have.
Okay. Shingle, shakes on the outside, asbestos, what kind of siding?
It was, I guess it has, it was re-sided. I don't know. I mean, it looks fairly new, the siding. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. What's the roof look like on it? Is it newer, older, curled shingles?
Somewhat newer. It's, if I had to guess, it's in the last 7 years or so. Maybe.
So where did you arrive at the 50 grand rehab cost?
I had some people look at it.
Who were the people? What's their qualifications?
They're contractors.
Licensed?
Yes.
Okay, so they said 50, and for 50, you can make it rentable or fix everything?
Fix everything.
Right. Now, these are 2 3-bedroom units?
Yes.
And 2 bathrooms or 1 bath?
Well, there's 2 bathrooms upstairs, and then downstairs there's 1 bathroom on the main floor, and then they put in a 3/4 bathroom in the basement.
Are they all functional?
That I don't know.
Okay. Can you stand up in the basement, or is it an old, low basement?
You can stand up.
You know if it's 7 feet high? Magic number for doing finishing work.
I believe so.
That would make it legal, is what you're asking, right, David?
If you want to pull a permit, and it's 6 feet, you're going to have a problem. Now, if there's already an existing bathroom, okay, but if you want to do something legitimately and pull a permit, and I'm sure everybody in this room always pulls a permit whenever they do any work that might require it. Right?
Right.
Looks like a pretty big house, and the house is straight, no foundation problems, anything like that?
I didn't notice any.
Okay.
Where did you arrive at the estimated gross rent?
26, sorry, how did I arrive at it?
Yeah.
I talked to a couple property managers around there in the neighborhood. I also talked to a couple of people that own duplexes around there.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me, I actually even walked them through there, and they said they could, for a 3-bedroom, which I think isn't that common right there, that they thought they, could get around 1,300.
Were they Section 8 landlords?
I know that the property management company deals with Section 8, and the other guy, I'm not 100% sure.
Because this is a, it's a borderline neighborhood right there. Do you have any kind of monthly expenses that are a potential, or are you just going based on, this is a rehab project?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know the monthly expenses.
Okay. Was it a bank-owned property prior to? Did I miss that?
It was, yeah.
And somebody came in and rehabbed it, and now they want to sell it?
No, they did, well, I think it, I don't know the history of it, to tell you the truth. I just know my sellers picked it up. It's clear when you walk through there that someone started to rehab it.
So are they just trying to wholesale it then? Is that the deal?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so somebody else.
I think when they looked at it, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think they were looking, they wanted me to, price it and tell them what it would cost to rehab it. Once they found out, they realized that, they didn't want to do that. And in fact, I should say that I don't think it's a property you could flip. I think it's for someone who wants that income, that monthly income.
Do you know what the after repaired value of this property is going to be?
Have
you pulled any comps in the neighborhood?
Yeah, I think it, 169, I'd probably list it at.
Well, I'm not a fan of duplexes, but you're going to have to look at it as an investor looks at it. So I think the 108 is really high. That's what I think. So based on that, I would pass just because it's too far to go, I think. Unless, of course, they own it free and clear and there's terms available.
I have a tough time getting 1,300 on my inner city duplexes. The Section 8 guidelines are around 1,040 for 3-bedroom. To get 1,300, you got to pay all the utilities, which I don't like to do. Or in January, they're sitting there in a pair of gym shorts and no t-shirt, except for my tie. If I look at your 108 plus 50, I'm at 158. 31.2 is what I think is your inflated annual rent. Take 16 grand off of that for expenses, because duplexes always have kind of high expenses, maybe a little less. And this thing doesn't even come up with a 10 cap. I'd rather invest in Millbank than Phillips. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Did we just discover Mr. Wonderful?
I think it's a floating Mr. Wonderful.
You're right.
Yeah, I agree with David. I think that the price, or so Scott that said that the price was kind of high. So I'm out.
Yeah, I guess I'm the only one that hasn't really said anything. Yeah, I'm struggling with the numbers. I would want to know what the estimated rehab really includes. The 108, I'm not, I know Minneapolis really well, but that particular part of Minneapolis, I just don't do a lot of deals there just because.
Yeah, what would you lend over there if I'm buying it?
That's a good question.
Mike,
60?
microphone.
Oh, sorry. I'd have to think about it just for a second. I was thinking of buying it instead of lending on it. It's a different discipline. So, and also, my discipline for lending is based on single-family residences, and this is a duplex, so it wouldn't even be all that helpful. So I wouldn't lend on it. Although I've done one and I got it back.
There was a time when, I bought a bunch of inner city duplexes, and any one of them would appraise for 150 like nothing. So I'd have 70, 80, 90 into them, and that whole market, my strategy was, okay, 150 I could easily borrow 105, 110, 115 against them once they're done up and running. That whole market totally evaporated. So and for the last several years, I couldn't even get 90 out of the things I owed 90 on that used to be worth 150, 160, 170 on honest arm's length appraisals. But there's people who invest in that neighborhood, and people who like that neighborhood. But I think if it's 108 plus 50, you're too high.
I'll say one more thing. If you could market to someone who, the holy grail for the duplex real estate investor is to find that end user to live in one unit, rent out the other unit.
Sure.
Now you can get the value that's more appetizing. But boy, it's specific marketing and it's hard to land that. But if you did, that's the upside for the investor. So the investor would have to look at it from the standpoint of, I gotta make, I don't know, some small return on this and just hold it, hoping that someday I'll find that guy and not get hurt on it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that number would be.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I probably should have finished with saying I'm out too, but mainly just because of the location. I could see the numbers potentially working in a different location, but I think David's partially right on the estimated monthly gross rent, that's probably a little high, but maybe after it's fixed up, there probably aren't a lot of 3 bedrooms in that neighborhood. But at the same time, Linden Hills or East Harriet, you can get a 2-bedroom. Now it's a 2-bedroom, but you can get a 2-bedroom with a den for around $1,400 on the low end. So I'd much rather live there personally than this particular neighborhood. But
Yeah, I mean, I think that this neighborhood would be good for Section 8, definitely, because there's a lot of different types of Section 8 renters in that neighborhood. But but David said that the price was pretty low, so it wouldn't cover the debt service and provide me a nice cushy cash flow for that property, especially with the repairs that are typically needed after those kind of tenants move out. So if you can get them to drop the price, I think that you could probably find a buyer for it.
Which you need to do, obviously. You can tell them this is a true story. I looked at financing a duplex, I don't think it was that street, it was 1 or 2 over, but I was literally there and there was a gunshot like 4 houses away, and I said, inspection's over. No.
Was it 4th of July? Well, the other thing is I'm thinking about moving this duplex to Linden Hills, so
Perfect.
I'll email you.
The Chad will buy it. Well, I think the problem with all of us that we're kind of struggling with here is that, we get these sheets and then, typically us as investors, we do our due diligence on a computer. We run it through our spreadsheets and find out what the actual numbers are. So, we're kind of going off the hip here and saying that it's kind of high, but just based on what our gut feel is it's high. And, but thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.